Escaping forever chemicals. Is there anywhere left to escape the long-lasting effects of these chemicals? Is it too late? Are they everywhere? Does it help to leave larger cities to avoid air pollution? Trying to find a cleaner source of fresh water. Could you make the move to cleaner pastures? Trying to keep these forever chemicals from nestling in our bodies. The forever chemicals are quickly showing up everywhere. Hard to find a place on the planet free of these forever chemicals. This idea of finding a safe haven is now more a concept of picking the lesser evil. It probably is time for us to incorporate ourselves back into nature.
Yeah, I want to talk about escaping PFAS and other nasty, harsh chemicals. How do you escape them? How do you keep them from storing themselves into our body? Well, the real scenario is not intaking them in the first place. Are there places left in the world where there are less of these PFAS and nasty other chemical toxins? Yes, there are. How do you find these places? My concept is something called upstream. So you always want to be upstream from these chemicals. You never want to be downstream. So what that means is you need to find a place where your source of water is coming out of the side of a mountain. You need to find a source of fresh air where there's no pollutants, there's no diesel around you, there's no car exhaust. Are these places hard to find? Yes. Being upstream in an environment is very difficult because there's always somebody who wants to be ahead of you in the river. They want to send their mess down your way instead of you sending your mess down further. So it's a big problem, is this idea of getting rid of your problems by dumping them into a river. Getting rid of your chemicals, nasty chemicals, by pushing them into the air. Whatever it may be, the human race is really doing a number on the environment. If you can afford it, is it worthwhile hiding somewhere where this PFAS and all these other chemicals don't get to you as much? I would say yes. If you look at the charts where all these harsh chemicals are, it's mainly in industrial areas, larger cities. There's a lot of this stuff traveling through the atmosphere and landing in secluded places. But the main pressure of this stuff, Australia, USA, China, is where there's this real industrial manufacturing process going on and a clientele capable of buying all these PFAS. If somebody can't buy a Teflon frying pan or impenetrable paint, then that's not going to be likely in their environment. So let's talk about downloading, downstreaming nasty chemicals to other countries. So for example, let's say you have a ban on pesticide in the United States. Well, those big manufacturers, those big chemical producers will offload these nasty chemicals to countries that don't have these restrictions. So it's a perpetual cycle where every area is contaminated for a different reason. And what I mean by that is, if you have less strict regulations, you're going to end up with a lot of chemicals that people can't sell in, let's say, the G7. So for you to find a place in the world where you can actually live longer, live healthier, not have all these forever chemicals inside you, then if you can afford it, it definitely is worthwhile moving to a place where you can actually get fresh water, where you don't have to smell all these toxins all the time. So I think the safeguarding yourself is a financial issue. Is, can you afford to leave a major city where you have a steady job and you have a rat race life, but you at least are making a living and you can feed you and your family? So this idea of moving into the countryside has always been very popular. But how far away do you have to move to get out of the reach of these toxins? How far is enough? What distance protects you a lot more than being close to a major city? There's major cities everywhere, and these areas where there's a little bit of security still left are being gobbled up as well. So it definitely is a tough gig finding a place where you can get away from these PFAS. Is it worthwhile searching out these tranquil locations where you can actually involve yourself with nature and get encapsulated by the cleanliness of nature itself? Nature has incredible cleaning forces and cleaning energy, and we've misused it beyond anything you could imagine. You know, these infertility rates are going to skyrocket with all these chemicals accumulating inside the human body and other living organisms. So it's a tough gig. Is it worthwhile pursuing this to find some safe haven? Yes, 100%. Will you feel better? Yes. Can you buy this security of having a healthy spot? You can. Is it time for you to make a change? Most likely. Be prepared to downsize your consumerism. Be less dependent on Teflon frying pans. Be less dependent on using chemicals in your gardens. You have to have a mental shift in your mind how you're going to heal yourself and heal the planet. You know, it's really interesting. We have to have a very different understanding of these PFAS that are entering our body, of these forever chemicals. They basically attach themselves to whatever they can get themselves nestled into. And once they've attached themselves, they have no interest of leaving your body. So it's like a battery where you're constantly feeding it a trickle charge, but the battery always stores. It never gives back. It's constantly storing all this chemical activity. And the only way, and everyone will most likely agree with this, is the only way to protect yourself is by not letting this trickle charge of these PFAS coming into your body in the first place. You have to not expose yourselves to them. That is the only and the best way for you to get away from getting cancer, getting sick, being infertile, constantly having headaches, being lethargic all the time. You have to keep your body clean. If you drink a glass of water in a metropolitan city, and you got to remember that 100 people have already consumed that same glass of water, and they've put it back into the system with all their heart medication and their the Teflon coming off their frying pan, or the paints that they've got on their hands and put into their mouths. All those chemicals are constantly being circulated in the same source of water. So this idea of finding a place where nobody has consumed the air that you're breathing before, nobody has had a glass of water from the same source of water that you're getting your water from. So it's this idea of finding locations that can provide you with clean everything, new everything. It's getting tougher, there's no doubt about it. But it's worth your while to find out these places, to search them out, to get them in your possession, to cultivate your own food, to grow whatever you want to have growing around you, stuff that's producing oxygen for you, places that aren't burning up from heat, places that are still tranquil, there's no noise pollution, stress, all those things is really hard on the human body that's already consumed in these PFAS. So if you can keep your environment sane, your environment clean, it will make a huge difference on how long you live, the quality of life you're going to have, your day-to-day energy levels. All those things are really important if you can keep these nasty chemicals out of your body.